You want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little podcast. Scarface is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. Usually this is where I say this is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, but I just have to apologize to all the folks at home for that cold open by Tommy there, because I felt the
Totally
cringe.
unvetted.
I should have vetted. I kind of knew what was going to happen, but it was somehow
Of course.
worse than I could have even imagined. I guess it could have been worse if you had tried to do a Tony Montana.
Yeah. I quickly realized that you can't do the Pacino as much.
Can
you
you
boys
do
leave that to me, man? I got you.
With us here is Al Pacino on the podcast. Very excited to have him as a guest.
Thank you for having me, man.
Upstairs, Steve returning for one of his all-time favorites. We were talking about the movie before, and he was like, yeah, I think if, the world ended and I needed to rewrite this movie, I could just do it, just based on the number of times you've seen this movie.
Yeah, no, what's up, everybody? I know you all miss me very much. And oh my God, Tommy, I had to do a double face palm. Unfortunately, the people listening at home don't have the privilege of seeing us on video, but I literally did double face palm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I almost stopped the intro to do the apology there and then restart. I was debating.
Immediately just fuck this.
I was immediately like, do we just restart? What do we do here? Because that was bad. But I figured it'd be funnier if we addressed it off the top of the show instead of pretending oh, we're some perfect cookie cutter. No, it's funnier.
We're not gonna let Tommy Spitz go undressed.
You're getting it raw. That's the thing, is that anybody that's listened to the podcast long enough knows that Tommy is a massive nerd, and we're just gonna let this one run. We're gonna do uncut, uncensored Tommy. We're gonna see what he brings to the table here. Which, Tim, was really your first mistake, but as far as authenticity is concerned, I think that we really captured it.
If you want the essence of Tommy, that was it. That was the essence of Tommy, was that moment right there.
Yeah. Once you let out Tommy, you can't get him back in.
I was actually very uneasy as soon as he entered. And he's like, no, I got this. I could do a cold open. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll do something. I'm like, oh, no.
And then, there's only one line that you're going to say from the movie, especially for Tommy. This was his first time watching Scarface.
Yeah. Somehow never seen it. Apparently Pacino has been in a bunch of my blind spots because we cover both Godfathers, Heat, and now this. So, I just haven't seen the majority of his fucking classic movies. Just a real blind spot overall for me.
Have you seen Dog Day Afternoon?
Haven't seen that.
That's one I haven't seen either, actually. I do want to see that
movie. True story too. You guys should check that out.
Serpico. He's got a lot of classics. Scent of a Woman.
I haven't seen. Panic in Needle Park is very good. That was his movie before he got casted to play
Corleone.
Yeah. And very low budget, but very good.
All movies I haven't seen.
There you go. We have a lot of Pacino to work our way through here. Before we dive into the epic Scarface, we like to discuss a movie we've seen recently. Tommy, why don't you kick us off? What's a movie you watched since we've last recorded?
Well, I actually just saw last week Late Night at the Devil, the new horror movie that's coming around in theaters and stuff like that from Shudder, about a late night host that decides to bring on a possessed demon girl to his a struggling late night show in the 70s. And this movie was just a king of production design. It really nailed the design of the old Johnny Carsons and old David Letterman type vibe right there. And the lead actor, David DeStouchen from Suicide Squad, Dark Knight, Ant-Man, all those movies. He was great as playing the swarmy little TV host right there. I think this movie just really knew its setting and tone, and it was a real good slow burner and just a pressure cooker waiting to go off. So I definitely recommend it if you like horror. Really fun movie, Late Night at the Devil.
All right, Steve, anything you saw recently? Theaters, at
I'm
home?
surprised, Tommy, picking a horror movie.
Yeah.
What movie I fucking saw was fucking L.A. Confidential for the first time
Oh,
recently.
great
Have you,
movie. Great
have you guys?
movie.
Oh my God. I don't know how I slept on that one,
Hmm.
but oh man, star-studded cast, great story. It really like kept you enveloped throughout the entire thing. And like I maybe slept on it because I'm not really too big into the whole like noir era, but I mean like 50s is like teetering. I kind of make it a little bit of an exception to that, but oh man, Spacey's incredible. Russell Crowe's incredible. Kim Basinger, she's amazing at anything she does. So,
Hmm.
and it had the writing to boot. Oh, and of course, Danny DeVito. How am I slighting him?
Yeah,
Yeah. How could you?
I feel like it's weird. Like after the Kevin Spacey thing went down, like all of his movies, I feel like they all have like a stench on them. Like
The only
compared to
one not
other,
affected. The only one not affected is Seven because it's like, oh, he's playing a creep. Fuck it. Yeah, it works.
yeah, I guess
No,
because he's
that's
usually
not
like
true. Not true. American Beauty. Where
That's
he
it. Well, that one
that one's
aged
been getting
poorly. That
dragged.
aged terribly.
That one's been getting dragged for years. I don't think it's that bad. I think people just like act
Oh,
like
it's a paper
something
bag.
that they connected with like at a certain point in their life, and then like it came out in like the late 90s, and like that kind of cheesiness like worked for audiences then, and now we've
Mhm.
just become a much more cynical society, so like the messaging in American Beauty just doesn't work today the way it
Yeah.
did like back then, and like we just pretend like that's not a big reason why people just hate on that movie so much because of like I mean the movie literally kicks off with a Katy Perry song basically, like just a
Mhm.
plastic bag drifting through the air
Yeah.
looking for a way to try and start again.
It sounds like the most
That
pretentious shit. A movie I haven't seen. I don't think we'll cover on this pod.
now we have to cover it on this podcast. So you
Well,
just said this movie sucks and you've never seen it.
it sounds like it sucks.
It
It's actually a good movie. I enjoyed
it's a
it.
good movie.
It,
It's a fucked up movie.
It's not like the great it's not like this groundbreaking film that it may have gotten this reputation on like in the late 90s, but it's a solid film. Like probably
yeah.
not best picture worthy, but like
Well, LA Confidential I haven't seen either, so we'll definitely have to add that to the list.
Oh,
Another blind spot.
100%. Yes.
we find a lot of Tommy blind spots in anything that isn't horror related.
Essentially, yeah. So to me, it's anything that's horror related. For me, it's anything that's 3 hour crime epics. Those are my blind spots mostly.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, between the three of us, you'll never run out of ideas. So
Yeah.
No, definitely not. So movie I watched for the first time in maybe over a decade, this Saturday. Went and watched some of the March Madness games. Then I was on YouTube and I was on a little South Park hole and a little Matt and Trey interview, and then I threw on the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, a
classic.
movie I have
I
not
actually watched
seen
it.
in a while. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
It
Like
holds up. I actually watched it last week. That's funny. You just watched it too. Look at us synced up right there. It's cute.
It was a long time record holder for the most swears in a movie.
Oh yeah.
And it was only beaten recently by the Trailer Park Boys guys with their SwearNet movie that's on Netflix.
I feel like even then
that
it's been
doesn't
played.
count. Like you need a theatrical release, in my opinion,
I'm sure they did in
Fuck
Canada.
these Netflix streamers.
Yeah, like this movie that I didn't know about because it just like was on like the eighth row of Netflix movies that I had to find. Like, doesn't
It
hit
might
the
as well not
same.
exist.
Yeah, might as well
Yeah.
not. It might as well have not been made.
Uh,
Um,
uh,
but it's a
this
funny movie, and I enjoyed it.
is a movie that
Oh,
taught me how to curse because I saw it when I was way too young. I saw it at 5 years old because having an older brother has its perks, I guess. So
yeah.
I remember all the songs were like earworms for me when I was a little kid. So like I was probably getting in a lot of trouble back then, like saying like "shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker," and shit like that over and over again. So it definitely colored my childhood a little bit, but I think the movie really held up. I watched it about a week ago too. So
Yeah,
um,
the messaging of it, and like the censorship of speech and stuff is like still, and like who's affected, like what's affecting our kids. You can just plug X in and Y, and it's just like the same. Like you could just make that movie about TikTok today.
oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still relevant in many words. I just love the one part of Kyle's mom being like, not we got to teach them that violence in movies is okay, but naughty words are not okay.
I mean, like, speaking of movies that you're way too young to be watching, me watching Scarface at 13, I definitely learned a lot of curse words in Spanish, and I found out what cocaine was because of Scarface. Because I'm sitting there and I'm 13 years old, and he's literally just shoving his nose in a pile of white powder on his desk, and I'm like, is it really that good? Like, what is this?
Little Steve went down a rabbit hole that day.
Little Steve learned a new lesson.
Middle school.
So this is Scarface.
Scarface is exhilarating for its vigor and craftsmanship. Al Pacino creates his freshest character in years, says Richard Corliss, Time magazine. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, gives Scarface 4 stars, highest rating. And Vincent Canby, New York Times, says Scarface is stylish and provocative. The most serious film about the American underworld since The Godfather. Al Pacino is Scarface. Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
So I didn't screen that trailer because I don't know if I would have used it because it's kind of boring, honestly. Before
I heard
played
Steve cracking up at
I usually
Riz.
mute myself for this portion. I forgot. I'm sorry, Tim, but
No, you're all good. No, but it was interesting where it's like the most serious film on the and I was like, this movie is completely unserious. Like it's a movie that wants to be serious but isn't at all.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's like it slowly goes off the rails in a way that's very enjoyable.
I mean, it makes sense. Like he gains the power, he does
Yeah.
more and more. I mean, Frank teaches him the rules right away of like loyalty and stay off your own supply, and he breaks both of those rules. And then he goes off the rails. Like it makes sense. My biggest thought was just like, how is this guy not killed like a long time ago?
Yeah, he broke so many rules. Like, to your point, he broke way too many rules, and just like, the real like Miami drug scene back then, he never would have gotten away with the amateur acts that he committed, and B, the cartel at the time would have been onto his ass way too soon, and like they would have just been like, all right, this guy's going to be a problem. We have to do something about it.
I guess we have to
this guy's
contextualize
unstable.
it into the time because this is when like that Miami drug scene is like really coming into like national prominence.
Mhm.
And like now that like either all these guys are dead or have like been in prison and then like ratted on people and now do podcasts about like mafia life, like now we have like an insight into how these things like actually worked and like how ruthless they were. But like I feel like in 1983 the American audience like their perception of organized crime was like The Godfather and like this fantasy, and it's never really set in the current day like of the time. So like this was set in the 1980s, like it ends in 1983, the year the film was released.
I mean, have any of you guys seen the original, like the 1932 version?
No.
The Howard Hawks, Howard Hughes. Yeah, apparently Pacino was like saw us at the Tiffany Theater in Los Angeles like one day, and he's like, I think this movie's ripe for remake. And I think that just by making it just like instead of like The Godfather, which is basic, somewhat more like a novel and stuff like that, and Scarface was based on a novel, but instead just the more cinematic aspect of it. I think cinema in modern day really sets us out and makes us an 80s classic in a way.
Yeah, but I mean, but it begs the question: what's actually like real and what isn't? Because you're taking a movie about like the 1930s crime wave, and then you make a movie about a Cuban that comes here during the Miami drug wave, and they're not even the same movie. It's like I guess maybe you would have the same character concepts. I'd really have to watch both movies to draw the comparison, but just outsider looking in, it seems like that they're two very different plots.
Yeah. Apparently Pacino originally wanted to have this be like a period piece and like set in the 1930s. And he realized because of how melodramatic this movie is, it just wouldn't be that good to accomplish that in an older setting. And Sidney Lumet was the one who came up with the idea as like him being a Cuban and arriving during like, that era. And that's one version we could have seen, the Sidney Lumet version, which I think could have been good. I think De Palma's the right director for us.
Yeah, I think if you were to do a remake in the 30s, it would be better now. I feel like in the 80s definitely would have been lame.
Yeah, I think there's more. I feel like, but it's also like a sign of the times, right? Like the 2010s was just getting bashed over the head with 80s nostalgia to the
Yeah.
point that audiences don't connect to it anymore because we've just been told, "Hey, remember how much you liked the 80s?" and like beaten to death over it.
Yeah.
But like you don't get like these period pieces in the 1930s or 20, like that often. So like if you were going to do another Scarface, probably remaking the original in a closer sense would probably work better. Because for me, this movie, why I watched it originally in college, and obviously you're 18, 19, you're like, yeah, Tony Montana, that's what you gotta be that guy. You just gotta be ruthless, you just gotta be killer, like you gotta be that fake podcast guy on your social media feed.
Money,
Who
power,
tells you,
respect.
yeah, I work 3 days in one day, okay? He breaks up his days, 6 hour shifts, like he's just gonna kick your butt, like one of those guys, you know.
The grind
But
set.
it's the grind set, yeah. But when you like actually like look at this movie, and it's interesting because it's such like a pop culture osmosis, and like Tony Montana is like this movie's parodied so often and so frequently, and then when you like watch it, it's almost like I feel like the first hour and a half is like significantly like there's like really good parts and then parts where the movie just kind of like makes you scratch your head. I don't know. It's kind of like a confused pacing to the movie. I feel like is
I think there's a very like distinct midway point in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Like the first half. So I think that the killing of Robert Loggia, I think the movie goes down a little bit once Robert Loggia's taken out. I don't think the him like rising to the power and being at the top is as interesting as him climbing up those ladders. I think that because that's when the movie gets a little more melodramatic. That leads into more of the Pfeiffer and Pacino going at each other. I don't think that's as compelling as the beginning of like all the shit we see in the beginning of him getting introduced to this world.
well, you kind of
Yeah.
needed it because the second
Yeah.
half almost validifies what you think of Tony Montana in the first half. Like in the beginning of it, like, he's just like a bull, and he's just very direct, very blunt, very honest character. But he's like also a psychopath and a ruthless killer. And like all convention should lead you to believe that he should have been killed like some point in the first half of the movie, like how he got to the point of like pinnacle of drug lord of Miami feels not
Yeah.
like it's not earned, but feels like he has main character shields around him.
No, he definitely does, and it really kind of like brings the whole like GTA Vice City like inspiration to life. Like yeah, that he's essentially the Tommy Vercetti of like the movie. You'd think that he's bulletproof, quite literally, until the end
He
when you
quite
find out.
literally
Yeah.
is during the end of the movie. He gets shot like 100 times before he gets a shotgun to the back, and he's just like, "You can't take me down." I'm just like, he's
Well, like,
just standing there
It's
like
a video game
game
character.
Yeah, he's just standing there like a video game character, and they didn't even know what that was at the time.
well,
It's
like,
like,
I mean, the way it was explained to me was he was hopped up on so much coke that the adrenaline was keeping him
Yeah,
alive. And that was the like only thing about it. But like still to your point, there's so many like scenes in this movie that feel so animated where it's like like when I first saw this movie as a kid, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I just started getting into like Grand Theft Auto, and I'm seeing the parallels in the game from the movie. And like, it because of all the action and like, mindless bullshit and the cursing, like I thought it was great. But then like, and personally, like, it's still like holds like as one of like my favorite movies to watch. But objectively, now that I'm older and I'm watching it, and I'm like, it's not the greatest movie in the world. It's
yeah.
held up there, like like to that trailer that you just played. Everyone's very very quick to compare it to like Scarface or Godfather and Goodfellas and stuff like that, and there's such different movies when you think about it.
There's a
And
tier list kind of with this. I think that like you have your Godfathers, your Goodfellas
Goodfellas or
at like A tier,
your
and
S
then
tier. That's your top of
yeah,
the line, and then I would probably go down and put like Casino
Yeah.
Heat in like A tier, and then I think I'd
King of
probably
New-
put this in B tier. Like
Yeah,
I
this would
would
be B tier with like King of New
Yeah.
York, like
the
I'd
good
agree because
movies
like
that are flawed. That did make me think of Gangs of New York, where it's like this is a good movie, but it's definitely flawed. It's not like a perfect movie.
I would like to start with like the casting of like Pacino with that, where I mean it's a totally wild choice that we have Al Pacino, the fucking like most Italian like fucking guy playing a Cuban, and somehow it works, but in a way that's just like extremely fucking campy. I don't think that it's like a great dramatic role. It's more so just like holy shit, look at this guy just go
He's
off.
a lot of fun. Like Al
Yeah.
Pacino brings so much energy to the role of Tony, and like just has a natural wave of charisma behind him that like despite like pretty much everything he does from the beginning of the movie should make you hate him. And I think
Mm.
like in a modern lens and in a more like present lens, like he's like it's like they made a 70s anti-hero movie but didn't really give him any redeeming qualities, and like the only redeeming factors about him are like is Al Pacino's performance, and it's like it's so over the top and so just like so dynamic and engaging that it keeps you watching. But I never felt like to compare it to just Michael Corleone. Like I never felt like he was as rich and deep a character as Michael versus
Well,
this.
this really is like a movie that kind of sets off like a fucking like switch of Pacino, where I feel like in Godfather and Godfather 2, I think he was a little bit more reserved as a character and stuff like that. Whereas Scarface onwards, I thought this is the Pacino that we all know and love. That like the overacting, his characters are constantly on cocaine or imply they're on cocaine, like with Heat and everything like that. This becomes a point where Pacino becomes just like one of our best fucking campy actors, just because he's just go so fucking over the top all the time.
Yeah, one of the things because one of the things where I just it always felt like weird to me was Frank's attraction to Elvira, Michelle Pfeiffer, who I think has the best entrance in this movie. Like if you because this is like her breaking out role, this is her coming out, and she just has that reveal to her where they're in the house after the hit and the chainsaw scene, which we'll get to, but she's coming down the elevator and it's just her back, and Manny and Frank are just talking back and forth, and and Tony's just looking at her in the elevator, and then she comes and like swings around, and it's like it's such a
Yeah.
great like introduction to the character. And then for me, the character, like I understand that she's just like a trapped person, like addicted to drugs, like addicted to the lifestyle, and like kind of does it to herself. We don't find anything else about her background, anything else. Like I even compare it to something like Sharon Stone in Casino, where like we started to put the pieces together of who she was before being in this world. Like we don't get any of that in this. She just feels kind of like a prisoner who gets unlimited access to cocaine.
Yeah, I think it's like for the characters best that we don't get like a lot of a backstory, a lot of interiority. But I mean, like overall, she's essentially just leaves the movie at one point. Like with
Yeah, she just leaves.
30 minutes, she just leaves the movie with like 30 minutes to go and stuff like that. She's not as like, well written as like Lorraine Brasco and Goodfellas or anything like that. But Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, was good as the detached, just like fucking housewife that's always snipping, making comments. And she was like unknown at the time. She was really, really known for Grease too, and she was up against Gina Davis, Carrie Fisher, Sharon Stone, and like Sigourney Weaver and Kim Basinger, who turned it down.
Carrie Fisher would have been a natural for this role.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher would have been great in this, but I think that is
Yeah.
just the newness of Michelle Pfeiffer makes this role work. Where, like you said, she gets a movie star moment introduction.
Yeah, you don't get that with Carrie Fisher, and Carrie Fisher is like tied to like one of the most iconic heroines of all time. Like it's very it almost stunts your career a little bit in terms of like what you can and can't get.
Would almost make it less believable because you would think that like a personality like Carrie Fisher would envelop the role, like she wouldn't be as passive to all this bullshit that's going on as she is.
Yeah.
Like Carrie Fisher wouldn't wake up one day to Al Pacino being like, "Yo, I just killed your husband. Let's like start a life together," and just be like, "Okay,
pack up your bag. Pack up your bag. Frank's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about him. Pack up your stuff. Let's go.
Like And that's the thing about Michelle Pfeiffer's character too, that makes her, to your point, like kind of a prisoner, is that like, she is just going with whoever can support her
Mm.
financially and drug wise, and doesn't matter who it is, and she's gonna have her opinions, but then she's gonna keep it to herself until that tipping point, which I mean is probably the most fucked up thing you could ever say to a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Al Pacino did.
He in the restaurant when he's completely destroyed. And then we just don't see her again, and it's just like, hey, have you called Elva? Have you heard from her? And it's just like, nope, nope.
Well, that was all
Yeah.
the same night. Like that
Yeah.
last 30 minutes is all in one night. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
all it's he comes back from New York.
Where like, yeah, it's just like a cocaine den of fucking endings where it's just like even his sister's coked out and be like, hey, you want to fuck me, right? While you start trying shooting her. I thought
oh
it
my
was just,
God,
Well, because
yeah.
he kills Manny after they get
Yeah.
married, and like that's hinted throughout the movie that they're attracted to each other. Like not even subtly hinted, like very well
yeah,
documented. I mean, it's a little bit on them for like not
Putting
answering
on his
anybody's
back.
phone calls and then just like buying a house together. Like
yeah,
and then being surprised that Tony would just like the one thing he told her is just stay away from her. And
Mhm.
like if you've learned anything about Tony is like if you betray him, he's just gonna kill you because he's just a bull rat. Like he's just a killer.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, like he doesn't want to hear an explanation. He's just gonna kill you, which is what happens to Manny at the end. And then that's what leads to Gina's death because maybe if Gina's like hiding in a bedroom while all the gunfire is going off, they might let her live.
She's not even in
Versus
the house. Like she only came over because he killed her husband, who's
yeah,
also his best friend, who also helped him get in the country. So like
Yeah.
that just starts the whole downward spiral there, and it's all gone in a matter of 28 and 24 hours. But that it just goes to show the power trip that the guy was on. Very much
yeah,
had the blinder.
he was on a power trip. I mean, let's bring it back because I think one of the most iconic scenes is the chainsaw scene in the bathroom in the hotel.
Mhm.
Um, which I think is my favorite part in the movie. Like it's so tense
yeah,
and it really makes you go like, how the fuck
Yeah,
is he going to get out of this? Um,
Mm.
where they're doing a drug deal with the Colombians. Tony bites off more than he can chew in this moment, and Manny's just like they do the thing where he starts pulling out the chainsaw. It takes the camera out the window, pans to the car, and you just see Manny flirting with a girl at the car, like not paying attention, and you're just like, oh, it's not like the troops are getting ready to go, ready to roll out. Like they're completely distracted.
yeah.
And then like the dissection of Alejandro, like one of the things I think it does really well is it does set the stakes for the kind of people that live in this world, in this drug world. They are ruthless. They will kill you no matter what. Like
brutally.
It's a great way just to drop you and be like, yeah, you're in some real shit right now. Like this is not something to fuck around with. I think that this De Palma's just a master of like knowing when to cut away and just this is a movie where we don't need to see the blood and guts of everything. We just need to see just the cutaway quickly. We can imply what's happening. We can imply in our own minds because we're imagining our own minds is more fucking terrifying than the creepy, gory effect we'd see in a Friday 13th movie or something.
yeah, and that's interesting because
The only place you see it.
one of the main
know?
criticisms of this movie is that it's like especially at the time was that it was so violent. And it is violent, but like it's not like bloody and gory in the way that you would expect and the way that it's like reputation almost precedes it.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
a
It's
lot
always funny. It's just because of the implications.
it is because of the
Yeah,
implications.
because of the implications. Well, it kind of reminds me of like how the same thing happened to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, which is not a violent movie, and this way they deal with violence is very similarly. It's cut away. It's just that people at the time that's so shocking, whereas nowadays I can watch a movie where someone gets fucking sliced through a bread slicer, and it was like, oh fuck yeah, that was a cool horror kill. I just think the critics at the time were a little more apprehensive to violence like this. This movie almost got an X rating because of the chainsaw scene and others.
I'm pretty sure
I
there's
mean,
a
at
movie
the time-
poster with it having an X rating on it. And I'm sure there's probably cuts of this movie or somewhere in a deleted scene on a disc somewhere of like extended chainsaw scene and just like way more gory, way more bloody. Like tell me that doesn't exist, because it does, and that's what had to get cut to get the R rating.
He said that he had to cut this film 3 times by the point that they already given the X rating, and he was just like, "I've had these fucking people. I'm not taking anything more out." And he's just like, "Fuck it" at this point, because at the point X rating would have been a mark of death, because that's like essentially the same thing with NC-17. You know, people just think this is like some smut or fucking pornography, and eventually they could compromise, and they got an R rating. And De Palma's like, "All right, fuck it. All right, we got that at least." Because yeah, I don't know. This movie overall doesn't seem like crazy hyper, like insane. Like I've seen worse things in horror movies, you know?
I think it's like the drug references, the crime references with the violence on top of it that'll just push
Yeah.
it to that X rating versus like what the movie actually is, because I feel like there like, to your point, there's much worse horror films in terms of like visual gore and violence.
Mm.
And
There,
also, like, this movie's definitely overstays its welcome as it is. Could you imagine a longer version? I mean, what's the runtime? Like, if you
it's
had
2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
170.
this isn't Lord of the fucking Rings here. We're talking about like a Cuban that rises to power through cocaine. Like, to it, it's almost 3 hours, that movie. The original cut had to have been closer to 4. If like they had to cut it 3 times, you know?
Yeah, where's the Snyder cut version?
Release the De Palma cut. But I get it. And it's interesting because I don't want to say it's bad, because it's like well made, it's well shot. There's
Yeah.
like great cinematography. There's great moments of tension.
Mm.
Let me ask you this. So Omar is the gangster that they're originally introduced to, and when Tony goes down to Bolivia with to meet Sosa,
Mhm.
start arranging deals. Sosa separates Omar and Tony, and basically is like, he's an undercover cop. He's a narc. I don't trust Frank. I don't trust this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that feels like to me 100% a power play, because he understands what kind of man Tony is. Like, I think this is the most like subtle subtext of the movie here, is that
Mhm.
Sosa plays Tony like a fiddle.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
Omar was an informant. I think Tony would believe that Omar was a informant, because it was clear that they just didn't get along.
I never thought of it like that, but that definitely would track. I could definitely see that happening.
Because like he got the sense already, like he wants to do these monthly shipments.
Hmm.
Tony's trying to negotiate with him to do the monthly shipments, and Omar's like, I would have to check with Frank. Like, we're here to do like one shipment of cocaine. But
Yeah.
Sosa's gonna want the multiple things, so he's like, give me a moment here. Talks to his guy. They get the helicopter and take him up. He's like, he's an informant. And like Frank says it to him, he's like, he played you like a fiddle, and he 100% did, because Tony is an idiot. Like, he's not a smart man or a smart character at all. And even to the point when he gets busted for tax evasion, it's like, if you had any intelligence at all, you would build a better laundering scheme, and maybe not in the span of 1 year go from like a regular house to like a manor with like armed security guards and 12% of your average income coming in with
And a
security
tiger.
and a tiger. Yeah, like you're drawing so much attention to yourself. And like that's who he is. And like this is where I
Yeah.
think the strengths of the movie are, versus where I feel like a lot of the melodramatic stuff, like the relationship with Gina and Tony, and like Tony being this like overprotective bull of her, like it just feels like stuff that could have just kind of cut out of the movie. Like I don't know, I didn't think it
Well,
it led
it
to
is
too
one
much.
thing. I was thinking about this earlier. Is like the gangster film, probably the film genre that has the longest runtime on average. Just think about it, like, you know, and almost every like high
It does.
influential gangster movie is like 3 hours long. It's almost like the benchmark to really clear
I think
right there.
Goodfellas is like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Like, it's significantly shorter than all of its compadres.
Yeah, which is insane because yeah, like that movie covers so much ground. Whereas this, I feel like sometimes it lets some scenes breathe a little bit in ways that I feel like maybe they shouldn't have or something. I wasn't the biggest fan of the pacing sometimes in this movie.
I feel like for a
Um,
cocaine movie, like, you know, like Scorsese, to compare it to Goodfellas, like showcases it in the editing. Like there's the famous of the helicopter flyby and just like the quick
Yeah.
cuts in the when he's frantic and manic. And like this is always continually like beautifully shot, like sweeping shots, like very cinematic, like all the things that I do love in a movie. But I feel like given the messaging and where the character's mentality was, like the camera wasn't adding anything to that in this movie.
No, yeah, they definitely just kind of kept it the same, and it's just like, all right, we're here now, we're there. They didn't really do anything with like the lens or like anything like that. That was like very artsy.
Yeah, it didn't like add anything to it didn't like communicate what was going on in Tony's mind through the camera.
With the exception of the slow motion scenes.
Fair.
The one there was a slow motion scene where he finds out that his sister's at his best friend's house.
Yeah.
And
that
that's
right there.
all red. But
One thing to point out in this movie that I think it did do really well, the score and the music is just fucking incredible in this movie.
we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Can you find me a better fucking 80s montage and push it to the limit? I mean, you
But
could.
yeah.
It's a top 5.
I was watching with my friend, and we were kind of like a little tired last night. We were watching it, and then that song came on. We both stood up. We're like, "Fuck yeah, let's go! Movies. This is what we're here for." In the lamest way possible. It's incredibly lame, but
You just had a little dance party like in the middle.
Yeah,
of
we had a little dance party where we're pushing to the limit, and we're like, "Limit!" No, but honestly, like, yeah, I think that this movie just like even the club scenes, I love like Michelle Pfeiffer in the club, just like with her weird, awkward dancing when she's
He's
talking
not
to
kidding,
Tony.
by the way, for everyone listening. This really
no,
happened.
This actually happened.
I joke a lot on here. Tommy's just being honest.
No, Tommy will break into
Off the
improv
cuff.
with another male friend of his in his apartment because of a 80s montage.
But yeah, seriously. But
So
there's one of those things like this movie. I mean, obviously, it has a legacy of like obviously in like the rap and hip hop culture, people fucking love this movie. So producers wanted to re-release this movie in like the early 2000s. And they said to Palma, "Hey, like instead of like the score you had originally, can we put in some like fucking like modern hip hop songs to like attract that audience?" And he was like, "Fuck no, you're not changing the music of the movie."
And you want to know the best part too is that it attracted the hip hop audience anyway. Think about how many lines from Scarface are in rappers fucking any of their songs, any of their album covers.
Like 90s rap is very influenced by Scarface. Like
it's like that would have ended up being like that Great Gatsby movie from like 10 years ago where they decided to put in like fucking like Jay-Z songs in it. It's like this is fucking stupid. Like, what are we doing here?
What are you doing?
Yeah, this 1920s movie would not have like Jay-Z songs in. They would not be listening to Jay-Z. At that time, it was Giorgio Moroder, who's like considered the founder of disco. If you've ever listened to Random Access Memories by Daft Punk, they have a song called something from Giorgio, and like you actually hear him speaking at the beginning of it. So like,
it's incredible. I mean, disco. I mean, without having this turn into a music podcast, I mean, you had Nile Rodgers fucking producing all those tracks. That man was the fucking king in that era.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
But he was there in the background, like producing a lot of the instrumentals with them. But yeah, regardless, definitely like wait for him to stand his ground with the music. I thought the music was great, and the rappers still got their influence from the movie. So like, how many times you hear "Money, Power, Respect"?
Or put out like the "Never Get High on Your Own Supply" from that Biggie song.
Oh yeah, 10 Crack Commandments, of course.
Yeah, it's there. This is where we go to the quick Tim segment that I've already bored Steve and Tommy about before we even recorded here, where Tim nitpicks movie geography in New York City specifically. So when they go to New York City, they're chasing a critic of the drug movement who lives in a place called Tudor Manor. It's in New York City. It's on 43rd Street. I know this because I had friends who lived in that building. It's in an area called Tudor City. You literally go down Second, you go up 41st Street, and then in between 41st and 43rd, across 42nd Street, there's a bridge that takes you to there, and that's Tudor City. So they are there, they plant a bomb on his car, and they're going to follow him as he drives to the United Nations. But right next to that apartment building is stairs that you can take right down. And if you look on the maps, you can just take the sidewalk right there and go right into the United Nations. So I understand why it was there. It also featured the actor who plays Hector in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So that was like a funny thing. He looked just as old in 1983 as he does 30 years later in the Breaking Bad series.
Yeah,
And it's a great tension
perpetually.
point, and it's where we learned Tony's limits, which is he won't kill women and children, which maybe you want to put that at the beginning of the movie so we understand that like there is some limit to who this guy is as a ruthless killer, and maybe that pays off because it's such a contradiction, right? Like the influence of Sosa, who wants this to happen at no matter what, versus like Tony's like weird moral code that he has. But we do learn it during that sequence, and that's my nitpicking of New York City geography and films because it didn't make sense for them to drive.
Well, that also scene just shows like you were talking earlier how Tony's just a fucking idiot and just like he immediately just gets himself killed right there. I mean, that's directly what set it up. He's responsible for his own death for being like a dipshit, essentially.
And
But
I will.
I wouldn't say dipshit, but I'd say more so just random character trait that just randomly introduced at the last
like
minute.
randomly having some sort of empathy, like the scene
Yeah.
after he berates his wife in public to the point that she leaves him, and
Then screams to people, "You need a bad person. You need to fucking like
you need a bad
fear
guy."
me."
Yeah, no, it was a very random time for Tony Montana to have a moral code because there's no inclination that he has any throughout the movie. And the scene,
I
like
think
2 hours in.
I think you almost need it to happen because if he lets it go with the white, like there's one or two things. The guy just gets in the car and they have it happen, or like if you lose him at the end, and like I think like the melodramatic stakes are about like if you're connected to Tony as a character, which I like appreciated the performance a lot, but I like didn't grasp onto the character at all, like as
Yeah.
like somebody I wanted to root for. Um, I think like if you're rooting for Tony as like an anti-hero here, if he kills the wife and kids, like three innocent parties, and like we literally watch them playing like patty cake in the back seat of the car as they're following him with the bomb like underneath it, like you're gonna lose the audience for the last half an hour of this movie. Like you're just gonna lose them. You're gonna be like, this guy's a despicable pig. Like we can't
Yeah.
come back. You're not gonna be able to bring your audience back in after all the despicable stuff he's done.
No, they're just gonna be like, all
throughout
right,
the
so
movie.
now when's he die? Like,
Yeah.
fuck this
Yeah, just show.
immediately.
And
So
I feel like it's very clear that it's gonna die. I guess we should go into the ending, iconic ending.
hmm
yeah, this is a part that like I knew almost like verbatim what happened during this of just like him in the end. I mean, they say hello to my little friend, like I said earlier. I mean, that's been shown in so many fucking clips and music videos and like movie montages.
It's been parodied
over the
on
years.
every show, everything. It's as iconic
It's
a
the money
movie
shot. It makes the build up worth it. You watch the fucking shoot 'em up scene.
You
And-
really only get like the war and like actually obscene violence in those last like 10 minutes of the movie. Like it's really scattered throughout the movie.
It's it is definitely sporadic, and this is definitely the big payoff. Just even him freaking out on the phone to Sosa, who like called him out for not doing what he was saying. It's like, you really want to fucking go down this road right now? Like, you have no idea who you're fucking with, and I'm about to show you. And that's how quickly it happened.
Because he had it organized well before he made that phone call.
Yeah,
That phone call was like a warning of like you should probably leave your house.
Yeah, no, well, it was too late already, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, fuck's sake, like he had his friends probably, or his like his guys outside of his house as he was on the phone with him. He knew what he was going to say, and he probably knew how Tony was going to act. So that was just pretty much it. He just had his friends just go to war immediately.
Yeah, it was a deserved ending. I think it needed this ending. I like a strong ending can really like help elevate a movie like Scarface, where I think it drags at points in the middle and elevate it, especially because that's the last thing you see. And like this is just an epic ending when it's Tony versus this entire army storming his manor, and just taking out, like, you weren't expecting a grenade launcher. Go, like, the first time if you did not know anything about this, you weren't expecting him to whip out a grenade launcher and just,
To be honest, I thought it was always a machine gun that he whipped out because that's what, like,
well, it's an assault rifle with a grenade launcher attached.
Yeah. I always assumed that he was like shooting a machine gun, but I mean, I think it was just a great final shot. I mean, De Palma, I think, has had some great touches in here of just Tony in the pool and just the blood filling up the pool slowly. I think it was a great final way to end this movie.
With the irony, with the world is yours above him, like.
And that also speaks so much to who Pacino is, because he sees the world as yours from Frank's estate after he's killed him and is taking his wife, and it's just a Pan-American ad. Like, like he literally built a statue that was an ad slogan, because, like, that's just how he thinks. He just thinks, like, he sees the world as yours, and that was meant for him in that moment. So that means that's his, like, saying from now on. I think it's like it's great set design. Like, this movie for the 80s has a very large budget of, they've estimated between 23.5 to $37 million. Like, that's a very big budget for the time.
Wow. Yeah. Time, a lot of money.
I mean, you can definitely see it. Like, set design in general is just incredible in this. I think that's one of the standouts in this.
Yeah, like, the production of this movie is really good. I think De Palma's direction, even if it's like, Goodfellas is my favorite movie of all time. Like, I'm just going to be able to compare anything like it with a needle. But one of my favorite things about watching any De Palma movie is that he makes his movies so cinematic, and he's so fantastic with a camera in his hand that I just, like, really enjoy watching that, even though I think this movie needed more pacing to it.
Yeah, I think the pacing is the one thing that drags, but I think De Palma does a great job. Apparently, now, question to both of you guys. There was a version of this where if Pacino turned this down, Robert De Niro would have done this movie with Martin Scorsese. Do you think we got the best version of this, or worse?
Would have gotten a totally different version of it.
I don't think you get it as like, this is an iconic movie. Love it or hate it, it is an iconic movie that anybody on the face knows. I don't know if a Scorsese version of this, like, does as well as well.
Also, I don't know how De Niro, I think De Niro in the lead role would have been terribly miscast. I couldn't see him pulling it off as well as Pacino does.
No, I don't think he could play Cuban.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I wouldn't be able to take that.
De Niro's the most Italian fuck.
I mean, I imagine if De Niro and Scorsese pick it over, it's probably the 1930s version. It's just a remake of the 1930s.
It's
going to be fully Italian. It's not going to have any Cuban heritage to it. And I think that's another distinction of it, because, like, every mob movie is just, like, pretty much Italian. Italian mob. And this is kind of cool because it follows, like, its own little, like, nook of, like, a crime scene that we didn't even, I think audiences at the time, like, weren't aware of Pablo Escobar yet, like that these guys actually existed. And I think it's a cool introduction to it. And I think, like, this movie is a better timed release than one that, like, stands the test of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely for its time, for sure. There's really, if you think about it, there's really not too many movies that cover off on that whole thing that went down in Colombia in the 80s. I mean, people were probably afraid to, if you think about it, with the amount of power that Pablo Escobar had at the time.
Oh, 100%.
Not until fucking Narcos came around.
When he was long gone, and Vinny Chase. Don't forget Vinny Chase's Pablo Escobar. Okay, very, very important performance.
Of course, he is Queens Boulevard.
That's right.
I am a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right. So, who is the star of this movie? And can you make a debate for anybody but Al Pacino?
No,
not at all. I can see why Michelle Pfeiffer's career blew up after this movie, because they treated her like a movie star, like we said throughout. But I think that overall her character wasn't really that essential to the plot in a way.
No, you could
to the movie.
Yeah, you could have almost written her out, honestly. I think, like, this is Like when you're able to create a movie character that just the name is like iconic, and like I mean, this is an all-time movie poster too. Like
Yeah.
Scarface, you think of the
Dorm
black
rooms
and white.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's a
It was in
and
my
it,
fucking bedroom in my house for years.
and
But
I feel like without Al, like I can't picture anybody else playing Tony Montana, and there's a reason that they haven't like tried to remake this or retouch it because I think it's a little bit of a lightning in a bottle movie. Um, like right time, right release, like for that audience that allowed its legacy to grow. And I think like 40 years later, we can kind of see the warts on this one a little bit.
yeah, and I mean, like even if you think about like the villains in this movie, very predictable. You know,
Yeah.
like, and also not very scary either. Like, Sosa was probably the most intimidating villain because he followed through on everything he said, and he was very like, stoic to his approach. But he got it done, and you knew right away that he was the kingpin. You don't mess with him. But then you have Frank, who is this two-faced asshole who's married to Michelle Pfeiffer, and then Tony comes in, he finds out that he was setting him up and has him begging for his life, you know, just total flip flopping. Like, all right, now you're not so much a tough guy. Now you're begging me to spare your life. And, oh, you'll never see me again. I'll get out of here. Blah, 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 blah. And then who are the other villains in this movie?
There are none. And I think
Yeah.
that's another thing too, is there's no like, I think this is a flaw of all mob movies because it becomes like an organization they're fighting against. It's not like a Star Wars of like good and evil definitive lines. Like this is the bad guy, this is the good guy. But I feel like this movie lacks an intimacy of like who the characters are and like the challenges they have to go through. Where like Tony doesn't go through a ton of challenges. Like he just kind of gets into bad situations and then has a nicer suit in the next scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more implied.
Yeah, like he wiggles out.
Went through his challenges in Cuba, and then this is like him escaping that. You know what I mean? That's
taking it out on Americans. But I think it's an iconic performance. It's a great performance by Al Pacino, and I can't picture anybody else being Tony Montana.
100%.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
So now, fellas, I think we know the answer to this one. Would Scarface work as a Muppet adaptation? And the answer is no. The answer is no. But I do just want you to.
What we need to see is the chainsaw scene, and instead of fucking it being like a human, it's a fucking puppet. And right there, you see Felt come out.
All right, this horror movie brain. I need you to calm down there for a sec. I'm talking about Fozzie Bear as Tony Montana, and now you're probably looking at me like I'm insane. But I just want you to think. Waka,
say hello
waka.
to my little friend.
Say
waka,
hello to
waka.
my little friend. Yeah, waka waka. And then like he's like firing chickens out of a cannon or something. Like it would be the worst movie ever made. Like it would make the Happy Time Murderers look like an Academy Award winner. But
would it shock you? Would it shock you that I just Googled Muppet Scarface? I just saw so many Google images of fan art of like Kermit dressed as Tony Montana in different scenes and shit like that.
I'm sure we're not the first to ever entertain the question, but one thing is for sure, I'm sure white powder would stick to a velvet puppet's face very well. And I think for that reason, it would be a very good adaptation.
That's all you need way of look at it. But yeah, I think the Disney Corporation would not greenlight this.
I think Miss Piggy would be perfect as Michelle Pfeiffer's character, just to say that.
But when we do this exercise, do we do it like as if like Disney would actually pitch it and like make it work? Or is it hypothetical? I always thought
we're trying to reboot the Muppets franchise here, man, with a little podcast segment. Okay.
I understand that, but begging the question with Scarface isn't where you start. But that's not to say it wouldn't be a good adaptation, in my humble opinion. I would watch it. I would 100% watch it.
I mean, you'd watch it, but it would be a tough one to get made.
Would you watch a 3-hour Muppet gangster movie? That's the real question, because they got to maintain that tone for 3 hours.
Depends on the movie that we're talking about here. If it was an original idea, probably not. Unless it was R-rated.
The Muppets
But
take
if
down
they
the
were doing a
Mafia.
shot-for-shot remake
I
of,
would watch the Muppets take down the Mafia. That would be hilarious.
that would be pretty funny. Even if it was PG,
Yeah.
I bet they could do that. You know?
Yeah, you could do an easy way. I mean, they've had the Sopranos actors on Sesame Street before. Maybe get up fun their performances.
Yeah, there you go. We can
Yeah.
make it happen.
There we go. Perfect. All right, fellas, review time. Steve, give me a score out of 5.
Definitely 4, and I feel like I say 4 out of 5 every time, but I mean, great movie, classic movie. It's fun. It has action. It's sexy, objectively and physically, with Michelle Pfeiffer and sometimes Tony's sister when he's not trying to fuck him. But yeah, it has everything that you could want out of an action movie, drug movie, etc. It's a little long, but the end of the day, you're gonna have fun watching it. It's a classic movie, and you're gonna pick up on at least 5 references if you haven't seen it before that you've seen parodied a million times. That's my
Tom?
2 cents. Tommy, what do you got?
All right, so I think this is a movie. I'm really glad I finally was able to finally watch this and check this off my list. I think this is a movie that works kind of in parts. I think the first half of this movie is really great. And I love seeing him climb up the ranks and getting sucked into overall. But I think that the movie kind of just loses its kind of pace and momentum a little bit once he kills Robert Loggia, who we haven't talked much about, but who I thought was great in his role. But overall, I'm gonna have to go 3.5 out of 5. It was great. I just think the pacing could have been a little bit better. You could feel its length at some points in this movie.
I'm gonna go 3 out of 5. I think, and that's a good score. I just want to put it out.
That is
2.5 is an average. 3 is a good movie. 4
Mhm.
great. 5 is like masterpiece. I think the pacing really bothered me in this, and it's a weird contradiction because I really enjoyed De Palma's direction. Like his camera work is very engaging, and he really is able to elevate scenes. It's tough to connect to a character like Tony, and I just kind of felt like the movie had scenes in it that felt like it needed to have the girlfriend in it, right? But like they didn't have anything for her to do in the movie, and then she just departs, right? And then that's 20 minutes of the movie taken up. And I think a movie like this, like with such a manic character, lacked that manic energy that I think would like maybe elevate this movie up a little more. So that's for me like the biggest issue I have with it is it's just like it's a manic character that's like this weird, calm, relaxed movie that I think almost needed it. But I do understand why it's such an iconic film. I think there's a lot of fun moments in it. I think if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's a movie worth watching in that regard to like kind of understand what it is. For me, it just felt like a 3 out of 5 once the credits hit.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Well, upstairs, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. We always enjoy having you on. Any social media or plugs you want to pop here before we wrap up this episode?
Well, the fans already know where to find me. Big_Mooch821 on the Instagram. And that's all you're getting. I'm not on TikTok. I'm way too cool for that. Pleasure being on, as always, guys. Looking forward to being on in the future. And yeah, Tommy,
Was this
plug-
was it the 4th or 5th time you've been on? I'm trying to think now.
I think this is 5th.
I think it's
Oh, you're in the
fifth.
5-timers. So we got 5-timer now.
Am I the only 5-timer?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we have like probably a 3-timer, but other than that,
So if Tim is Joe Rogan, am I like Tom Segura now officially?
You're more of a Burt Kreischer.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take
yeah,
that.
you're the Brett Kreischer of the pod, the guy that occasionally comes in.
I am the machine.
You are the machine. All right, Tommy. Any final
All right.
thoughts before we wrap up?
So thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the occasional thread. And it was a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Really helps us out, really helps us grow the show. You can check us on YouTube. Haven't Seen It Pod on YouTube. And we're gearing up for April. To me, I'm just coming this off the cuff. I think we should cover Godzilla because Godzilla X Kong is coming. I've never seen the original Godzilla.
Original
So-
Godzilla is a great movie. I'd definitely watch that.
So
I'd do that.
we'll do that next week then. Godzilla 1954. So get ready for that. And we're gonna see Godzilla and King Kong go at it again. That's all you need in cinemas. Just a monkey and a giant lizard.
Looks so
Fine.
bad. It looks so bad.
Oh.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next week.